I was going to say, before you move on, that kind of sounds like my nude cache video that's recently published on my channel as well. I was more thinking of the 6-inch biceps, but then you kept on going on about the hair was the main thing. It was pretty hairy.
Do you love to travel?
Do you love road trips?
Do you love finding hidden treasures in towns all over the USA? Hi, I'm Joshua.
And I'm Craig. Welcome to Treasures of Our Town. It's the podcast that explores the unique and charming towns scattered throughout the United States.
Guided by our love for location-based games like geocaching, join us as we venture into some of the country's most intriguing destinations, uncovering hidden gems and local secrets along the way.
On today's episode, I've been so busy down here in Alabama that Josh, yes, the man, the Joshua, the geocaching vlogger, he's done all the research for me today as well. And we're going to talk all about the USA's oldest active geocaches. But also, Josh, you picked up all their surrounding things, like the tourist attractions around them as well.
Yes, if people are going to go to the oldest geocaches in the United States, they can't just go to the geocache. There's tons of other things that they could do. They can make a whole trip visiting one of these geocaches. So, and we are a travel podcast after all. So correct. I thought this is very much a geocaching guided travel podcast show today.
This is gonna be a heavy geocache show as well. So those of you out there who are inclined to geocaching, then I think you'll still like it because of what's around the area too, Josh. So I like that
for sure.
But as always, Josh, I can't just wait. I got to get right into it. Yes. Delays and upgrades, Josh. Who's going to go first and with what?
Well, you got to go first because you have been in the thick of it for 10 days.
Man, I'm telling you now, I thought about it today when you said to me, I was actually so as we record this, very, very rare, but we're recording this very, very late. It is Sunday night. Like, we're talking like, Josh, it's 7 hours before the show goes live on the podcast itself that we're actually recording. It's 7 hours. I'm not going to get any sleep tonight, Josh, for the edit. Anyway. But, I've been thinking about it all day today at BamaRama, the big mega event, and I don't really have a delay per se. All I'll say is this, that I am buggered/tired for you Americans after a big 10 days of geo parties.
10 days. All those events, like I've been to BamaRama, they know how to party down there. So I am sure you are quite buggered. So that's your delay, that you're just exhausted.
I'm just exhausted. Yeah, that's all it is. That's my delay. It's a hard delay to have, let's be honest.
Yes. Well, my delay is that I have serious FOMO of BamaRama as I am here in the Minnesota tundra. It is current 7 degrees here. And I really missed it as I was watching all your stuff on social media. I saw parades. Yes. I saw our friend Brandon Giles do the Great Balls of Fire. This time he actually started his piano on fire, which we missed last time.
Yes, we did.
Yes, I missed a lot. So that's got to be your upgrade, Craig. Tell us about a little bit about BamaRama.
100%. Okay, it just has just a small twinkling on BamaRama, Josh, and that is this: it is 10 days of lead-up events, not including the BamaRama, the big mega itself. Lead-up events is 10 days. They start off with one event on the first day, and then 2 events every day after that. So not one event each day. No, gosh. 2 events every single day. In total, Josh, I'm talking 2 CETOs, I'm talking 2 community celebration events, and then 10 events before the big block party. And of course, then there's an event tomorrow saying goodbye. So yes, that's the way it is up here, down here in BamaRama. Yeah. But I will say, it was fantastic. The people here are brilliant. It's really, really nice. I'm going to let something leak right here, right now, just for our people, our listeners. 2026, BamaRama 2026, it's going to involve See my shell. That's right. Myself will be on the committee for 2026, BamaRama 2026. I'm on the committee. I got myself on the committee,
Nice.
Josh. I've got some ideas, and the committee were happy to have me on too. So I've been hanging out with the committee, part of the committee, all week long or 10 days long too. The two Lauras had three official bonfire events at their property, a couple of unofficial ones as well. I will say that too. Man, these guys down here, Josh, they do know how to party. Whoa. But I will say,
believe it.
I will say again, outside of geocaching, because this is not just about geocaching, but outside of geocaching, our friend Brandon Giles, 2 weeks ago, Josh, he reached out to you and I. He sent us an email. He then followed up with a Facebook Messenger message as well, saying, "Guys, thank you so much. I've just listened to the episodes from last year and how your kind words and your experiences from an audience member really, what do you say? Like it pleasures him, sort of thing. That sort of stuff. And if you're ever back in this area, let me know." I didn't let him know. I thought, no, I'll look at where he's playing. So this time, when I managed to get to him, it was a Friday night. He was playing in a very subtle lounge bar, Josh. It wasn't the Floribama. It was not the Floribama. So the electricity was not there as much. But you know what? But you know what? Because you know what he's like. He creates his own buzz. And yes, Josh, I waited with bated breath. He turned around and said, "Any requests?" And some guy said, "Great balls of fire." And I went, "Oh," I said, "Here we go." I was with a couple of friends. I said, "Here we go." Josh, he stripped the top off, and I thought, he's going to do it. So I got my phone ready. He put the lighter fluid on top. He stands up as well, starts playing, starts singing. Great balls of fire, doing it with his feet and his hands. And next minute, with the lighter, whoompa, up she goes. The entire keyboard, on top of the keyboard, lights up with the lighter fluid, and then slowly dies down as he keeps playing away and bashing at those keys, So I spoke to him at his interval, and I reached out to him and I said, Craig, from Treasures of Our Town, and, thank you so much for your message. Thank you for listening. And he's like, no, thank you so much for actually talking about him as well. Now, I asked him, I said, I finally saw you with the light up keyboard. He said, Floribama don't allow it. But apparently he played at Floribama last week, and he did it and got in trouble. So he went, "No, I'm just going to do it."
That's what Jerry Lee Lewis would do.
Exactly. So, if you don't know who Brendan Giles is,
that's very good to know.
Yeah. If you don't know who Brendan Giles is, I'll put a link absolutely in our show notes to him and all his social media stuff as well. So anyway, Josh, that's my big upgrades for this last 2 weeks, and I am tired.
Wow. I did see a photo of a giant life-size Monopoly board.
Oh, yes.
Is that true?
Yes. So what happened is, as part of BamaRama for this year, their theme was board games. And so every single event we went to, we had to sign the board game board for that event, whether it be Trap or Scrabble, or we actually played human Scrabbles as well, whereby we all had a letter each and we had to make up words, and the biggest word, because they have these things called Bama Bucks. And so you win these Bama Bucks, which you can then trade in for prizes back at the big event. So all week long, you get Bama Bucks. And it was all board game themed. And so what they did, Josh, incredible. They made an actual human-sized Monopoly board made out of portable birdhouses, and each birdhouse was its own gadget cache. Inside each of those birdhouses was a number. Once you got in, was a number. Once you get that number, you then have 5-stage adventure labs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-stage adventure labs for each side itself, and then you have another one for overall for the adventure labs. A little bit of math to work it all out, but it is possible. I'm saying it took probably about 45 minutes to an hour to actually complete it properly. If you were with a group of people completing it properly, 45 minutes to an hour. But in that time frame, you got 4 5-stage. No, actually, no, sorry, I was wrong. 4 10-stage adventure labs plus an extra bonus 10-stage. 50 adventure labs in that hour. So yes.
That's
Incredible.
so awesome.
Incredible.
And it sounds so creative too. That's super creative.
Yes.
I love that.
Josh, they even had a jail. They even had a jail in the corner, like go to jail, go directly to jail. And you had to get into the jail. You had to actually get inside the jail to unlock the code for the jail too, which is really awesome.
Oh my gosh. That's so fun. So, Craig, do you know the theme for next year's? Have they announced that?
Yes, they have announced it. Of course, as always, they announce it at the end of it. And I was part of the theme announcement this time, Josh, because I was proudly displaying my Australian flag, my country flag. And the reason for it is because I ran around the audience as he said what it was, and it is the Olympics. So it is Olympic themed for next year. It is in February next year as well, which is in actually the same time frame as the Winter Olympics. So they're having it at the same time as the Winter Olympics. They're also including, again, the big Mardi Gras parade that you saw on my social media, that we walked alongside the floats. As they're dancing alongside the floats, so they're chucking the beads out, chucking the toys. I've never seen anything like this, Josh. We don't have that in Australia. Not at all. It's insane.
That's so cool. I saw you with Captain Math running by all the floats. Man, that guy can move for his age.
I'm telling you now, I think I even said it too. I said, this is a math teacher, but he's a fit math teacher because he had me trying to keep up with him running. If you haven't seen that, it's on, I believe it's a worldwide geocaching Facebook page. And he's one of the Facebook page creators / admins. And so he's allowed to go live with that. And so he went live with that with me, asked me as well. I'm going to say as well, Josh, a big, huge shout out to Captain Math at this event. He really turned on the stars. There was even a Captain Math gadget cache created for him, and it's his full face painted like Captain Math. It looks exactly like him, and he was so proud to get FTF on it too. So, yeah. They love Captain Math.
That kind of reminds me of...
They love him down here.
That kind of reminds me of that gadget cache with the mad scientist with the marbles that we saw last year. Do you remember that one?
Yes. Yeah, very similar to that.
Mad scientist on it.
Yes. Exactly. Anyway, that's enough of my upgrade because I'm telling you now, it's a lot. It's a lot. All I'll say is you have not been to BamaRama mega events, then you need to get to 2026. It's going to be huge. I'm part of the team, so I can tell you now it is going to be huge. I may be able to leak a few things here and there coming up. And if you really, really can, if you're a snowbird or retired, if you can get here for the start of the lead-up events, it's a fun time, Josh, an absolutely fun time. So, yeah.
Well, I'm not going to make a mistake and not go next year. So I'm going to make it a priority. They are so creative, and they're just such a fun group of people down there. So,
yep.
Okay, should we get into our topic?
Well, did you give me your upgrade? You didn't give me your upgrade. You were too busy focusing on mine. What's yours?
My upgrade is so not as cool as yours, so it's just in the shadows. Said it would be.
It's your upgrade. It's not mine. It's yours, mate. It's okay.
Okay. I did get outside this weekend. Believe it or not, it was like it's frigid, but I got out and I spent some time with our friend Minnesota boy, his brother Gravity Bear, and our friend Courtney at Mecca MN, and we went to a Munzie event together, and then we went to a brewery together. And then,
that's fun.
I requalified for the Jasmer cache, and they helped me get a tree climb cache, but I didn't even have to climb. So, my video is in the show notes. You can see it by my upgrade of what I did this weekend. Not quite as cool as BamaRama, but still, I was able to get outside and get some fresh air. So that's good.
And it's cool in other ways in terms of temperature rather than coolness as in quality.
Very cold.
So. Speaking of cool, Josh, apparently these oldest caches that we're going to talk about today are pretty cool as well. Tell us a little bit about how you researched and what you did to get them all.
Well, I just thought that we would highlight some of these premier caches. If you're not a geocacher, one of the goals of geocachers are to try to find these old geocaches. especially since geocaching is 25 years old. All the geocaches that we're mentioning on the show today are 25 years old. They have been there for 25 years. At the very birth of geocaching, which means at the very birth of geocaching, it was mostly out in the woods sort of sport. So the interesting thing about these geocaches, these 10 active old geocaches, is that they're pretty much, Craig, in the middle of nowhere. There's not much else around them at all. But it got me thinking, okay, they're in the middle of nowhere, but there's got to be some hidden gems around these places. So I did some research around the 30 miles-ish driving area of each of these. And I had to expand it almost to 2 hours in some cases, because some of these were literally in the middle of nowhere. But I thought it'd be fun to talk about these old caches and talk about some of the things around them to travel to.
Yep. Perfect. And so some of these things, and we're talking as you said before, Josh, as well, they're old caches, 25 years old. Now, again, if you're not a geocacher, we're going to actually talk about what they call GC codes. And a GC code is a geocaching code. The smaller the code, predominantly, the older it is. So these codes themselves are predominantly 4 digits long, including the letters GC. So they're really, really old. Okay, we're going to start with number 1, Josh. We're going to straight in. Oh, before we do, how many have you found out of these 10, I should say?
Yes. It's fun fact. I have found half of them. I have found 5 of the 10, which I was actually impressed with. I was like, okay, I found 5 of the 10. How many have you found?
4. 4 of the 10, Josh. 4 of these 10 of the oldest in the USA. I was pretty excited about that. I was actually a little bit shocked. I was a little bit shocked because I'm not one of those to look out for them. I don't have them on my to find lists, not like my Cache Across America series and that sort of thing too. They're on my to find list, but not as much as the oldest. But yes, I was a bit surprised. All right, we'll start with number 1. Number 1 should be no surprise to most geocaching people as well, and that is called Mingo GC30. Colby, Candace, Josh, you and I have both found this one. What's the experience like? What would you say that people can expect if they try and find Mingo GC30?
Well, not only have we both found this, but we have found this together, Craig.
Yes.
We have gone to this together, which makes it even more special. And actually, I've been to this geocache actually twice. The first time I went to this geocache, I was with my young family, and all of a sudden a guy walks up to my door and he's completely naked. And my kids are just laughing their heads off as this guy is just like wants to get a picture with the geocache naked. It was, oh boy, I didn't know how to feel about that with my kids there. Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, not so family friendly, let's be honest.
No, and this isn't, there's caches that people are encouraged to find naked. This is not one of those.
No.
Anyway, so Mingo GC30, it's in the middle of nowhere. And when I say the middle of nowhere, it's in the middle of nowhere, Kansas, right off the highway. And it is literally just on the side of a farmer's field next to a fence post. And it is literally inside the ground. It's like underground. It's like I think currently it's just like a big giant PVC pipe. But it's the world's oldest. It is geocaching holy ground. So you have to visit Mingo.
Yeah.
What about your experience?
Well, when we're talking about world's oldest, Joshua, we're talking about the world's oldest physical geocache, the one you can actually find that has a physical container. We're not talking about virtuals and the like as well. So that's what we're talking about. My experience, Josh, I've done this twice as well. The second time with you at that time at Mingo Madness. But I had to get Josh. I had to. In 2018, when I come across the good old US of A and did my big road trip for Cincinnati, this was big bucket list tick for me. So I'll tell you now, I was a little bit underwhelmed by just pulling off the highway, pulling around a little dirt road, getting out and just seeing it there in the corner and went, is this it? I went across the entire world and this was my number one to find. And I was like, that's all it is.
Check. I found it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's all we
and
need.
the town of Mingo is like all that's really there is like a church and maybe a couple houses. I mean, it's a very, very small town. Do you remember when we visited the church at Mingo Madness? They were so excited that all these geocachers were coming to little tiny Mingo.
I think if I remember correctly, they got told by the organizer that they were going to come and they were going to be there, and so they had like a little like a lemonade stand and some drinks and some snacks, some snacks out the front as well, cookies. But also the local geocaching community there with Mingo Madness, when they hosted that, they also did all those. Remember those really cool looking caches where we had the outhouse. You know, the actual toilet hanging in the tree, and then there was the corner store hanging in another tree and stuff like that too. So really cool looking geocaches. Not really gadgety. There was some, but not all of them. But some of them they were brilliant looking though. Yeah, I enjoyed those.
Yeah, there is a really nice almost travel bug hotel. It's like a general store that is actually in town. It's like a wood old school general store that they made into a geocache. I remember that cache, but there are other things nearby. There is the Southwind Antique Mall. So all you antiquers and vintage lovers, it's close to Mingo. I don't know what city it is in. You'd have to look that up. The Prairie Museum of Art and History features an enormous barn. I think we saw. Oh my gosh, we saw that. Remember
saw this
in town in Colby, Kansas.
Yes.
In Colby, Kansas, it was like the world's largest barn, or at least Kansas' largest barn.
Yeah,
I remember that. And then there was a barn gadget cache. There was a barn gadget cache right next to it. So that was pretty cool.
Yep, that was cool.
But I visited this on the way to Mingo in Goodland, Kansas. Is the world's largest easel. And it's just a giant reproduction of Vincent van Gogh's Sunflower painting and on an 80-foot easel. Have you visited that?
Yes, I have, mate. Yes, I have. Absolutely. You can't miss that. Our listeners know, Josh, just exactly what tickles our fancy, and it tickles them as well. And that is anything that's world's largest. You know, we're talking about roadside attractions, for instance. Not going to spoil anything, but we've got roadside attractions coming up next month too. And Josh, just to let everyone know, if you're a patron, listen up, patrons, listen up, because we're going to do something special for patrons for our madness, March Madness. But anyway, moving back to it, all the links for some. You got some videos, Josh, in the show notes as well. What are they for?
Yeah, all the videos are the videos of you and I visiting the whole area. There's 4 videos in there. There's 4 videos of visiting Mingo. So
that's awesome.
Take a look.
That's awesome. Yep, absolutely. And of course, Mingo is the one one of the ones that we've both visited as well. Moving on to number 2, Josh, we have Geocache. That's all it is. It's actually called Geocache, and it is GC12. It's near. What's is it? Escatada.
Anyway, Oregon.
In Oregon. It's in Oregon. So, have you found this one, Josh? Do you recall?
Yes, I found this one. This one on a coach bus with 37 Germans. So I hiked up to this thing with 37 Germans. I took in 2018, I took a bus trip to find all the old geocaches with a bunch of Germans with Daniel Flieger's company, Cache Horizon. So that's who I found, GC12. And I remember, one thing I remember pulling up, I don't know, because did you find this one, Craig?
Yes, I did. And I remember this one quite vividly as well, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. So when you pull up, there's like a sign, and the sign just like, I don't remember what the sign said, but it was just filled with bullet holes.
Yeah.
It was just like bullet practice. And you're just kind of like, okay.
Well, it is, Josh. You think about it; it is actually hidden quite deep in the Oregon wilderness itself. Yeah. You do have to do that drive up to get there. But it's a beautiful drive. It is a stunning, like anything really in Oregon. Anywhere those drives where there's lots of tree foliage and overhanging, they're stunning drives. And then because it's Oregon as well, it's kind of I was going to say it's a wet state, Josh. Like it's a moist state, like it gets a lot of rain for itself. So it can be a bit of a muddy hike. It was a bit of a muddy hike for me to get up. But again, Josh, once you get up there, as like most old caches, they take you to beautiful locations. And is it true for you, whereby as soon as it opened up, you're like, oh, you're in the wilderness. You're on top of the world, basically, the feeling. Yeah.
I remember this hike being pretty long. I think.
Yes.
I think it was, well, first I know it was a hike up. So you were going up most of the time. I remember that. And I think I remember it being like 2 miles one way. So it was like an over 4 mile hike round trip.
Yeah.
Do you remember it being that long?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Because I was by myself doing this one, and so I was umming and ahhing at first because I didn't know how long it'd take me to do, and this is when I was on a time crunch as well because it's my first time over to the US, and I was doing the whole big across the US trip. So, yeah, it was quite long, but I thought to myself, you know what, I'll probably never come back to the US again, so I might as well get it.
Yeah. I mean, it is the second oldest geocache in the world. You gotta visit it. You gotta go. You gotta go.
I had to.
This is actually also very close to the original stash plaque. It is in the same area as that. So you can get this one. You can get the original stash plaque. And then I think there's another really old one, like a top 20 old one. I think it's GC 16. I'm not sure. But that's also in the area as well. So this is the birthplace, really, Craig, of geocaching.
It really is.
So, and again, this is geocaching holy ground. But Craig, there are other things around there.
As always, Josh, as always.
Yeah. Always hidden gems. There is the Philip Foster Farm, which is a hands-on pioneer life exhibit. You can go like into pioneer times. You could probably pretend you're on the Oregon Trail. After all, it's in Oregon.
Yeah.
You're going to love this, Craig. Fearless Brewing Company. Great craft beer and a cozy setting.
Num, 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 num. And we both know as well. I was going to say, Josh, we both know as well our good friend Minnesota boy, and your good friend as well, Mecca MN, that you were out with during the week. They both have a new podcast as well, which we mentioned as well. So, yeah, take a look at that. The Brewery Adventure. Anyway, keep moving on. Apart from the brewing company, what's next?
In Elsie, Oregon, which is also nearby, there is a logging museum, which has just giant saws and historic logging trucks. So if you ever wanted to learn about logging and see some giant saws, that's where you go. The Logging Museum.
Now, our listeners out there, Craig, especially patrons as well, I was going to say before you move on, the Logging Museum, obviously that's got to do with lumberjacks of the like and of old school and old days. Now, if anyone's out there listening to us, patrons especially, if you meet Joshua at the Geocaching Vlogger at any event and he invites you to go axe throwing with him like a log, Josh, he pulls out his inner logging background and wearing his plate like the red and black checkered shirts as well. And all of a sudden, Josh, you throw those axes like a man that's built for logging and a lumberjack. So Joshua, the geocaching lumberjacker. So
I am surprisingly good at throwing axes. I didn't know this was a talent that I had until we did it in Owensboro, Kentucky.
Yeah.
All right, Craig. Here's the best thing I found.
Okay. What's the best thing you found?
The best thing I found near this area was in Oregon City, which is just north of the cache. It's a place called Tree Climbing Planet.
What?
Tree Climbing Planet. Yeah.
What do you do with tree climbing?
It's a farm dedicated to teaching people the professional art of tree climbing. It's a tree climbing farm.
There's an art to it?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it's an art. There's all these courses and professional tree climbing like courses that you learn and must be a lot of trees. to climb.
Yeah.
It's a 150-acre farm, and it's a safe place. I'm sure they have all the equipment. It's a safe place to practice tree climbing, which, hey, for geocachers, that is a very, very good skill to have.
Oh, absolutely. Except if in Joshua's case, whereby he goes out with friends that climb the tree for him, so he can just sign the log and and fill his next jasma.
Well, yeah.
Very
if you'll
cool,
see the
mate.
video
Very
this
cool.
week, the original plan on my video this week was I brought Courtney because she's a rock climber. So I was like, okay, Courtney's gonna climb up the tree. But then Gravity Bear showed up and he brought a super long pole, and that's how we got it down. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But
pole instead of the climb. That's all right.
Tree
all right,
climbing,
Josh. Moving on to
number
3. Number 3 is its name is Beverly, and it's GC28, GC28, near Beverly in Illinois. Have you done this one, Josh?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I haven't.
Yes,
I can't talk about this one. What was your experience with it?
This one is very near our friend Scott Burks, who you are a co-host with on the Geocaching podcast. This is a suburb of Chicago, basically. And it is in a kind of a, it's a forest preserve in suburban Illinois. So this one is remote for like the Chicagoland area, but it's not as remote as the first two. But it is the third oldest geocache in a park that has lots of geocaches in it. Wow. So if you go there, you won't get just Beverly, but there's lots of other great caches in there as well. And I haven't, when I visited with the Reister Bunny. I just happened to be in town. I can't remember why we were in town, but I went into the park the wrong way. So you know how Waze or like Google Maps gives you the driving directions to geocaches, but it often gives you the direction of the closest point where the road is. So it didn't take me to the park entrance. It took me to so I had to we had to climb a fence and bushwhack through to beeline it to Beverly. And as we were doing it, it was getting dark and it was one of those moments where I felt a little nervous, oh my gosh, I should have marked the car because I don't know if I'm going to be able to find the car. But we did. And we got the third oldest geocache, which is Beverly
that's
forest
really
preserve.
cool. That's really cool. But also, Josh, as well, if you're not a geocacher, then you don't understand this term. But it's quite easy to understand if you think about it. And that is, as geocaching people, as soon as we find the cache, you always find the easiest way out. You always find the geo trail out.
Yeah, for sure.
So what's around this sort of area, Josh?
Well, one of the places that's around it is Chicago.
Yes, of course.
Have you spent much time in Chicago, Craig? On your road trip across?
Zero
really?
Time in Chicago.
Interesting.
Yes, I have not been to Chicago.
Oh, it's a great city. That's one you got to get to eventually.
Yeah.
But Chicago has so much to offer. But I'm going to tell you a couple things that are some off the beaten path things. Niles, Illinois. Niles, Illinois is the home of a half-size replica of the Leaning Tower of Pisa. It's half the size. Yeah, that sounds like a cool roadside attraction to me. It might be on roadside attraction March Madness, who knows? But yeah, Niles, Illinois, little town, has a half-size Leaning Tower of Pisa, which sounds pretty cool.
Yeah,
and,
I like that. I like that.
There's also some museums. There's some museums, and there's of course a craft brewery. There's a craft brewery called the Horse Thief Hollow. Not only beer, but Southern inspired dishes. We love those Southern inspired dishes.
Yeah, I've had a few, mate, down here in Alabama. Just saying. So, nice job. Moving on to number 4, Josh. We have The Spot. The Spot is GC code GC39. It's near Nyack in New York, and I think that's New York State. Tell us, Josh, have you done this one?
No, sadly, I've not. This is one of those areas that we got to get up there because we've talked about a lot of I think it's in northern New York. We've talked about going there for various different things featured on this podcast. And the spot is one of them. It is a moderate hike, according to many of the logs that we have read. It's one of the oldest. It is the oldest in the eastern United States. But there's a well-established geocaching trail, so there must be a very good geo trail to this geocache. There's nearby, the Hudson River is nearby, and so there's some really beautiful spots along the way. So it sounds, Craig, like a beautiful hike.
It really does, and I've read some of the logs as well, Josh, and some of them talk about different wildlife, like deer sightings and things like that too, which is. I'll tell you now, Josh, even for me, even a squirrel sometimes is just like, oh, squirrel. It's one of those things where you're in nature. So anything nearby, Josh, anything nearby?
Yeah. I found something kind of freaky, Craig, kind of spooky, scary. The Clauslin Mountain Tunnels, these freaky tunnels that you walk down them and there's got to be a geocache in these tunnels. They're super long tunnels. And so these tunnels were created for World War I for people to do target shooting. They shot rifles into these tunnels. That's what they were created for. But now they're just these abandoned tunnels that have graffiti, and there's a lot of lore around these tunnels, creepy, satanic stuff that probably didn't ever happen. But people go down in these tunnels, and again, if we look more into it, I bet you these are perfect spots for geocaches because these tunnels are higher than a human, so you can walk through them. But look it up. Clauslin Mountain Tunnels. They look really creepy, freaky, kind of a lost place. When you go to Europe, Europe has a lot of lost places like this. So the fact that we have this is kind of a lost place. It just sounded super interesting. So that was one of the cool things near the spot.
And what else did you learn as well? What other stuff was there?
Again, lots of museums. And one of the museums is the Letchworth Village Ruins. This is in Thiels, New York. Craig, it's also creepy. An eerie, abandoned psychiatric hospital. So can you imagine going through an abandoned psychiatric hospital? It's a ruins. Oh my gosh, that sounds terrifying. Sounds terrifying.
Well, I've seen a couple of videos online.
Should we move on? I think we should move on to number 5.
Yeah, okay, we'll move on. We'll move on to number 5. Absolutely, Josh. Number 5 is Missouri's first. It's called Watts Mill, and it's GC37, located in Kansas City, Missouri. Have you, Josh, done this one?
I can't believe I've been to Kansas City many times, and I haven't done it. And have you, Craig? All right, you need to start talking about it.
I don't recall, Josh, exactly. I even looked at my log, but it was a very quite. It's one of those things, Josh, where it's quite a little bit of a generic log, it didn't stand out too much. But while I was there, I did read other logs as well, and some of the other logs stated that it was a quick, grab and go sort of thing. It was located in a historic mill site tucked away along a greenway in Kansas City. And there's a lot of urban area around it itself as well. But it seems like the urban area has sort of got larger as time goes on, around the actual thing. So really, Josh, it is just a park and grab. It's not like those big hikes. So I feel that's the reason why it's not really memorable, for me as well. It's just one of those things. It's like, this is the oldest, this is Missouri's first. I'll have to grab it. Oh, look at that. It's just, there it is, park and grab. So yeah. So that was my experience with it.
That makes this very unique because most of these are significant hikes out in the middle of nowhere. So the fact that this is basically a park and grab in Kansas City, Missouri, makes this very unique for being the 5th oldest active geocache in the United States.
Exactly.
There
Josh,
are some other
reviews,
cool things.
I was going to say, sorry, just quickly, in your reviews as well, what other things you were just about to mention are on there? I'm getting ahead of you, mate. I'm getting ahead of you. What else is there, mate, to mention?
So again and again, in my research, it was mentioned the National Museum of Toys and Miniatures. So there's a toy museum, which I love. I love some good vintage toys. So that would be really cool to see a bunch of like old classic toys. I think that'd be cool. So that is in Kansas City. There's another brewing company nearby, the Boulevard Brewing Company, craft brews. But this one, okay, are you ready for the weird one?
Yeah.
Leela's Hair Museum in Independence, Missouri.
And
so it's a museum entirely. It's a museum entirely dedicated to hair art and jewelry made of human hair.
Wow. I'm going to look that up after we finish the podcast. I'm going to have to look that up because that there is should be. Remember, it's only the other week, Josh. We did that really freaky sort of places to be and places to see. That could have been on that list as well, Josh. Just saying.
It sounds interesting. I'm really curious. I'm sure. I'm sure. So in our shower, okay, this might be TMI. Okay, in our shower. I have some really great hair art done by my wife because she has long brown hair and parts of it fall out and then she makes little like art on the side of the walls for me to enjoy. So I know a little bit about hair art.
I'm sorry, Josh, but that really came out of left field. It really. that's oh, wow. All right. Tammy, well done. Keep it going. We're moving on to number 6, Josh, is Camel's Prairie Stash GC25. It's near Priest Lake in Idaho. I have not done this one, Josh. Have you?
I have not either, but boy, oh boy, the pictures are beautiful because this is Idaho. And this is remote in an area that is just gorgeous. I mean, Idaho is just a gorgeous state. It is a very remote place. You're driving on dirt roads to get there, but it is a fairly short trek to the actual geocache. But they said the terrain can be rough depending on the season. But in the summer, there's lots of mosquitoes, but in the winter, deep snow. So you might not be able to get to it in the winter, however.
Yeah.
But it's supposed to be a really beautiful spot. And Priest Lake is just a huge lake. If you look on the map, you'll see it. It's a gigantic lake. But there are some cool things nearby. And this was the coolest thing I saw. Of course, this is all pretty much, out there. So there is a place called Lionhead Natural Water Slide. And boy, do I love a fun natural water slide. But this is exactly what you think. Just a giant rock. I put a video in the show notes of kids, families just sliding down this gigantic rock. It's basically, big giant water slide. So that was really cool in this sort of remote area. And Craig, nearby, I believe just to the north, possibly, is Spokane, Washington. Spokane, Washington, the home of Lookout Lisa from Cache Advance.
Yes.
And actually, I think there's also a lot of movies that were filmed in Spokane. But Spokane, Washington has the world's largest radio flyer wagon. It's a giant climbable red wagon in the park. So we're the world's largest wagon right there, not too far from Camel's Prairie Stash. Number 6.
Very cool. Okay, so moving on to number 7, then we have Potter's Pond. This one is very well known amongst the geocaching community, GC3B, and the reason for it, firstly, it's near Fairview, Utah. Now, the reason for this is very unique, is because, Josh, it's one of those old ones that's there's not many of these actually left that are listed in that month of the year. So if those people want to get a cache in every single month of every single year, this is one of those rare ones where I think there's like 2 or 3 in the entire world in that particular month, in that particular year.
Yes, there are 4 caches that are still active.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There are 4 caches that are still active that were hidden in the month of August of 2000.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'll tell them, I know what they are. I have them memorized. Are you ready? It's this one, Potter's Pond. And then the next one is in Georgia, which is I'm forgetting. It's by a lake. It's near a lake. All the people, all the geocachers are just shouting at their radios right now. And then there's one in Michigan, and that you have to take a boat to. I'm forgetting the name of that one. And then there's one in Sweden as well. So those are the 4.
Wow.
This is one of them.
So you have memories of the locations more so than the actual names or GC codes of them. So you're halfway there. I'll give you halfway, Josh. I'll give you halfway. Yeah. So have you done this one, Josh? Have you done Potter's Pond?
Yes, I have. Have you?
Nice. Yes, I have. Again, This is one of the ones.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I have. I had to get this one again, in 2018 on my big trip across. I had to feel in. This is the one I could actually drive past and get this one. All the others were too far out of my way in order to obtain. So this one here is exactly right. That's what I needed to get because I was never going to come back in the US again, to my mind. So, unbeknownst to me, here I am living and breathing across America now. But anyway, what was your experience with this one, Josh? I think it's probably the same as mine.
So this one was wild because it was on that road trip with the 37 Germans in a coach bus. Now, Craig, you know how like winding and narrow those roads are to get up to this thing. It's kind of in the mountains.
Yeah.
I can't believe this bus driver took a coach bus all the way up there to the parking area. And as we were going up there, it was snowing. It was snowing too.
No.
It was wild. It was wild. There was snow coming down as I found this. And you'll get the videos in the show notes. I actually swim. I get down to my skivvies and I swim at Potter's Pond. I swim and Craig, it's snowing. It's snowing. And I was the hero for all the Germans because there was an island cache that was not Potter's Pond that they wanted. And I said, okay, I want all these Germans to like me, so I'll get down to my skivvies and I'll go over and in the snow, in the cold water. And there's a video to prove that I did it.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. Josh just asked me this as well. They knew it was actually cold water once you were walking out from the swim. Is that the reason? They knew that?
No,
I'm joking.
It was obviously cold.
I do know how treacherous those roads are because I did it in that van. Remember, I hired that van itself from Escape Rental Vans, almost the same size as my van now. And I had that one going up there too. And I was umming and ahhing, and I was thinking, should I? I was halfway up thinking, should I just turn around? I'm like, no, I'm halfway there now. I can get to this, and I'm happy I did it as well. To be honest, so it was really cool.
So this hike is not super long, but if you remember correctly, it is almost straight up.
Yes.
The incline, the incline of the trail is like straight up the mountain. I was breathing pretty hard, and it was high altitude. So this one was a tough one, but it was totally worth it. It's such a beautiful area.
Exactly. Well, there's some thin air up there when you get up that sort of altitude too. The air thins out slightly as well. So, but anyway, Josh, what is in around the area in your research that you found?
So, if you're there in the summer, there's an old-fashioned drive-in movie theater nearby in a little town nearby. So that's kind of cool. And I don't have the name of it, but I'm sure if you search, it's called the Basin Drive-In Theater. Again, there's more museums. There's a prehistoric museum. So a museum filled with dinosaur fossils. Now, this is an area where there's lots of, near Montana, up in that area, there's lots of dinosaur fossils that were found here. So it's basically just like a big dinosaur bones museum. But I think the coolest thing, now this is 2-hour drive from Potter's Pond. Now this is, Potter's Pond is the middle of nowhere. So, you got to go some distance and you have to like drive around the topography, right? But it's a 2-hour drive and this is worth it. It's called Devil's Kitchen, which is on the Nebo Loop Scenic Byway. And it's Utah's own miniature. This is now in Utah. This is Utah's miniature Bryce Canyon with these bright red rock formations. If you look it up, you'll just be like, oh my gosh, Bryce Canyon was very popular. This like red rock area canyon, but this is like a mini version of it. And it's called the Devil's Kitchen. So everybody says that's you gotta go there.
You got to go there. And Josh, you did say that it is actually in Utah, and you've written there too, which is pretty cool. It's about 2 hours drive from Potter's Pond, that particular one.
Yep.
So that's really cool.
All
right, moving on, Josh, to moving on to number 8. The name of this is another one, Geocache. That's all it is. That's the name. That's the official name, and it's GC57 near Payson, Arizona. Josh, have you done this one?
I have done this one.
Oh,
have you?
No, I have not. No, again, it was out of the road when my big trip across. So
this one is Arizona's oldest, and it is out in the desert. I looked this up. I did this one in April, I believe, and it was like in April, Craig. It was like 95 degrees. It was really hot.
Wow.
And I was freaked. I was freaked out because I was just, you drive basically, you can drive kind of like I rented a pickup truck. When I do rentals, I very rarely rent, but I rented a pickup truck because I could drive as close as I could because there's no trail, Craig. You're just walking out into the desert, no trail, and there's little bushes everywhere. And all you're thinking the whole time is there a rattlesnake underneath these bushes? That I was freaked out the whole time. It was wild. So I was probably more scared at this geocache than any geocache I've ever been to, just because I was afraid of rattlesnakes.
And well, Josh, all I'll say is lucky you haven't been to Australia yet. So just saying.
Oh boy. Yeah. Right.
And what else did you find with it, Josh?
Yeah, so there's the Payson. So Payson, Arizona, it's a town. There's a candle factory there. You can make candles. That's kind of interesting.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
That's neat. But the big thing, this is the fun thing that I found. I'm gonna murder the name of this because Mogollon.
Mogollon.
So the Mogollon Ridge is there. It's apparently like a ridge, right? And they think that some Boy Scouts in the 1940s saw the Mogollon Monster, which is Arizona's version of Bigfoot. And they said that many sightings have happened near the Mogollon Rim near Payson. So some Boy Scouts in the 1940s took a trip and they saw this monster. They said, this is the quote, "The creature was huge. Its eyes were deep set and hard to see." Of course he was hard to see. But they seemed expressionless. His face seemed pretty much devoid of hair, but there seemed to be hair along the side of his face. His chest, shoulders, and arms were massive, especially in the upper arms, easily upwards to 6 inches in diameter, perhaps much, much more. I could see he was pretty hairy, but didn't observe really how thick the body hair was.
Well, Josh, just saying, that kind of sounds... I was going to say, before you move on, that kind of sounds like my nude cache video that's recently published on my channel as well. I was more thinking of the 6-inch biceps, but then you kept on going on about the hair was the main thing. It was pretty hairy, so and thick body hair.
Yeah, this just sounds like a really hairy man. This just sounds like a hairy man.
That's what it sounds
like out in the. I think they just encountered a hairy man out in the wilderness. I'm pretty sure.
That's all it was.
But there's a lot of. Yeah, but if you want to see Arizona's, Bigfoot, go to Payson, Arizona.
There you go.
But make sure you find the geocache.
Exactly. Well, speaking of hair and gorilla-like material, that's where number 9, Josh. Look at that for a segue. Number 9 is Gorilla Stash. It is GC1B, and it's near Mountain Home, Arkansas. Josh, have you found this one?
Craig, is this the first one that we both have not found?
I think this is the first one we both have not found. Yeah, we both have not found. So we looked up some logs, Josh, to actually see what it's like. What did you see?
Mm-hmm. It's in again, this is out in the middle of Nowheresville, but it's near the Ozarks, which is, I've heard, a beautiful area. I haven't spent a lot of time in the Ozarks, but they said once you get there, you can. You got to expect some elevation. It's a short bushwhack to locate the hiding spot. It's tricky search among the natural camouflage, but it's worth it. They say it's worth it. So, again, haven't experienced it, so it's hard for me to give a lot of detail. But I do know something cool. I do know something cool around it, and that is about an hour south. Again, Mountain Home, Arkansas it's a small town. You go hour south, the Mystery Cave at Blanchard Spring Cavern. Oh, Craig, I love a good cavern. And in this cavern, they have what is called the Wall of Wonder.
Oh.
And I put a YouTube video in the show notes. It is gorgeous. It is just like this gigantic wall that is in front of you of just beautiful, like, cave formations. It's quite a sight to see. So
very, very cool.
That seems like that was the coolest thing nearby Mountain Home, Arkansas.
Very, very cool. All right, Josh, moving on to number 10 because of the time frame as well. Last one, but definitely not least, but it is the top 10. It is a Tariol? Tariol?
Terriol.
Terriol. GC18. It's in near Lake George in Colorado. Josh, have you found this one?
Oh, I skipped it because there was Geo Woodstock in Denver, and a lot of people went out there, but I just didn't have time for it. But this is just outside. I think it's about 2 hours though, outside of Denver, Colorado. But it's come on, it's Colorado. It is just beautiful out there. Yeah. So as you drive, you're going from Denver, you're just going to see mountains upon mountains. It's just beautiful. You can take I believe you can take a Jeep almost right up to the geocache, but it takes a while to get up there. But get this. It's a Home Depot bucket. That's what it's famous for. It's those, those orange, orange Home Depot buckets. That's what it is. So it's huge. It's a huge geocache.
That's cool.
In a beautiful area. I've seen pictures of this. It's a great spot in the middle of Nowheresville.
That's really cool. And what's around it, Josh?
Some of the coolest stuff. Yeah, some of the coolest stuff. Okay, so this is, if you're near there, I think Pikes Peak is about hours away from there, which is just a beautiful. You drive up Pikes Peak, you got to do that. Yeah. But if you go 2 hours south, okay, there's some weird stuff here. 2 weird things. And you guys got to check out this video. It's in the show notes. The UFO Watchtower.
What?
In Hoopers, Colorado. Okay, so this is a place. Oh, you got to watch the YouTube video. It's a lady named Judy. It's in the middle of so there's mountains all around, but this is just like a big flat area. And so Judy built there's no artificial light out there. So she can see the sky quite well.
Yes.
And she said she's seen 26 UFO sightings in this location.
Wow.
So she built a 10-foot platform. It's just a platform that you walk up to take a look at the UFOs.
Wow.
And this whole place, Craig, is it's one of those roadside attractions. People just leave all kinds of random stuff around, just toys and Pez containers. I mean, you got to watch this video. It's so funny. But in this video, it's so funny. This woman, Judy, takes the guy who's interviewing her. She goes, "Do you want to see the magic bush?" He's like, "Sure." So then she walks to this random bush and she goes, "Put your hand in there."
Oh, geez.
And she goes, "Do you feel your hands tingling?" And he's like, yeah. She goes, "You know why that is?" She goes, "That's why, because this place is the vortex. It's a vortex to a parallel universe. And that's why all the aliens gravitate around there, because it's a vortex.
That's
my gosh. This is one of those places where the treasure is got to be Judy herself.
Yes, absolutely. And so that bush, I'm thinking, Josh, as well, that bush isn't the vortex. That bush is just a little bit poisonous. That's all that is. It gives you the tingling sensation on your hand, like a stinging nettle. Sort of.
Exactly. It's really funny.
That's gold.
But get this, Craig. Get this. There's a cache. Of course, there's a cache there.
Oh, yeah.
It's called Alien Cache GC3MFQJ. So that'll get you right there to Judy's UFO Watchtower in Hooper, Colorado.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
And then,
that's
Craig,
pretty cool.
And then, Craig, there's another, the Bishop's Castle in Rye, Colorado. You got to watch this video. Oh my gosh. It's a one-man built castle in the mountains, completely built. It's huge, Craig. And it's the spire, the top of the castle is a fire-breathing dragon. That was built, get this, built out of hospital warmer trays. You know when you go to the hospital and you go to the dining room? He found a bunch of dining room hospital things, and that's what he made the dragon out of.
Wow. Well,
oh my gosh.
Creative.
And the dragon breathes fire. The dragon breathes fire. I got a video in the show notes.
Wow.
It's wild. It's wild. So that's
really cool.
That's close by. I think about an hour away from the UFO Watchtower. So Colorado, beautiful place. See the mountains, but also see all this.
See all the other extra
wacky
bits.
stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's really cool. So there we have it, Josh. The top 10 of the oldest geocaches located here in the good old US of A. Awesome to see. Thank you so much for doing the research, mate. I do appreciate it. Meanwhile, I will say, down here in BamaRama, Josh, I did have one of our brand new, not just listeners, but patrons. That's right. He came up and said to me, Craig, I'm a brand new patron, and there's been two of them, to be honest with you, but one reached out to us online. The other one was exactly the same. Josh, I was sitting there. You remember the Alberta Museum? Remember the museum, the one with the cuckoo clock at the front and Adventure Labs galore throughout, that sort of thing. I just walked outside and I just finished the Adventure Lab inside. I walked outside and there, lo and behold, I've got some new emails and I just flicked up in one and it was new patron. And I went, oh, that's a new patron. That looks really cool. And lo and behold again, guess who walks directly up to me? And I looked at her and went, you're a new patron. Thank you so much for your patrons, for your patronage. And then she's like, how did you know? I go, I just read the email as we speak. So, we've got a couple of new patrons, Josh, as well. But this one reached out to us separately and he said, hey guys, I wanted to drop you a line after meeting Craig at the Pirates Cove event at BamaRama on Friday. I introduced myself and mentioned I was one of the new patrons since your last show. I also wanted to mention to Josh to check his logs on Groundhog Day Adventure Lab because, Josh, he was so excited. He did it on Groundhog Day. So he did your Adventure Labs on Groundhog Day itself. He said, keep up the great content. My favorite podcast. Look me up if you're ever passing through the Chicagoland area. And I think his geocaching name was Brava-E. Oh, no, that's his surname. It's Brava-E.
No, that's his last name.
That's his last name. That's surname. Same thing. Is it Canis Minor? I think it's Canis Minor.
Canis Minor, yes.
Canis Minor.
His name's Clyde Braveri.
That's it, Braveri. That's it. I actually said it correct as well when he was there, but because he asked me and I said it correctly at the time too, so that's awesome. So yes, thank you, Clyde, for your patronage and thank you for coming up and reaching out to us as well. That's pretty cool. Josh, we did say at the beginning of the podcast that we are doing more with patrons in regards to an upcoming episode, a very, very, very special episode to our hearts, and that is the March Madness. So keep an eye out for that. If you want to be a part of that patronage, Josh, as well, how can people, how can they join up?
You can join us at patreon.com/treasures of our town. We really appreciate your support. By supporting us, you're helping us create better content, keep it free for everyone. And as Craig said, Roadside Attraction March Madness is coming up in a couple episodes. And so our patrons, I'm just going to let the cat out of the bag. Ready? Yeah. Here's the deal. The patrons are going to get to select 5 entries into the roadside attraction March Madness. We're gonna have a nomination process, and then we'll have a little bit of a poll, and they're gonna get to enter. They're gonna get to enter some things that they want to have in there. And if you don't know what roadside attraction March Madness is, we have a tournament style sort of contest where we put roadside attraction against roadside attraction to name the best roadside attraction in America. And last year's number 1, the defending champion, which I don't think they're going to defend because we're not going to have any repeats. No. But it was the world's largest ball of paint. That was last year. Now, that was a great one.
Josh, I will say, and I'll keep it anonymous, but a patron of ours as well has spoken to me at length in regards to that down here in BamaRama, and they believe that the world's largest ball of paint was not it doesn't list as it's more of a destination rather than a roadside attraction. But that's their opinion, and that's the reason why we've enlisted the patrons as well to have their support and their input too. So one more thing though before we close out, and that is that Josh, apparently Clyde Brevier said we need some merch. We need a shirt or a jacket or something. And Josh, what does a shirt have to say on it?
It has to say, of course, they're proud of their town. That's a rare thing these days. That's a damn rare thing these days. Thanks, Greg.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Did you like me leading you into that?
Yes,
you didn't even know.
Great.
You totally forgotten. I led you straight down that path. But that's actually true as well, that Clyde did mention that he wants a shirt with that on it. And he wants a shirt with the first part on the front and then the one on the rear being the ending of it as well. So there you go. Josh, other than that, how else can people contact us if they want to?
Feel free to reach out to us at treasuresofourtownpodcast@gmail.com, or you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, X, and YouTube.
So that's it for our show today. Please subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite podcasting app. And as always, Josh,
may your travels always lead you to the most unexpected and amazing hidden gems around the world. We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.